Well, it's cold and rainy outside, so I'm not going to be doing any riding anytime soon. So I thought I'd take the opportunity just really quickly and give a brief review and history on this motorcycle here. This is a 2001 Ducati Monster 750. Started its life as the Dark Edition. I had the tank repainted to something a little bit different. It's more like a graphite black. This bike I purchased in 2006 from a friend of mine who had moved up here from Texas, and he had actually gotten hit on it, broke his shin bone in several different places. So it's kind of been a work in progress from that time on. It's still a work in progress, but I have put a healthy amount of miles. I've got almost 50,000 miles on it. It's been serviced recently, valve service and all that. I do all the oil changes. Sometimes I do the valve services myself. This was the first motorcycle that I ever purchased with my own money. Before this, I was riding a vintage Honda CB350, and that's kind of what I started to hone my skills on. I've ridden since I was a kid, but it was the first bike that I rode illegally on the street. And so I moved up to this one after I'd kind of gotten the hang of that. And honestly, it wasn't that big of a jump. CC and power-wise, it was, but it didn't feel like that. This definitely has a lot of torque. It's got a lot more power and a lot more torque than that 350, but it was manageable. This is the last year of the carbureted monsters. Carburetors, up until recently, I've never really had any issues with. It's got some Mikunis on it. Vacuum synced them because I had torn the bike down for several years. I had my son and just didn't have time to work on it, and so it sat for a while. So anyway, the Monster is really it was the iconic flagship motorcycle for Ducati. It skyrocketed in sales when it came out in '93, and this is the first gen. It's gone through several iterations up into the newest iteration, which is a pretty controversial iteration of the bike, seeing as how it doesn't have a trellis frame anymore. Ducati kind of weaned themselves off of that. You can tell through the models. The trellis frame became shorter and shorter, and then they bolted a subframe, and then now they've just gotten rid of it altogether to replace with the frame, the Superbike frame. Love it or hate it, it's still a performance machine. Myself personally, I'm keen on the old first gen. I'll never sell this bike for that. It's given me loads of issues and all that, but I can still work on it. I can still get on it, and it puts a huge smile on my face. It still sounds amazing. It's one of the best sounding motorcycles, in my opinion, to this day. I've put, I put the clip-ons on it, the bar-end mirrors. I actually bought these bar-end mirrors, and they were all black, and the sun has bronzed them out, so I'm hoping that nothing ever happens to them because it accents the bike so well. Fairly soon, I'll be going through probably doing a teardown and rebuild, a couple of cosmetic things, aesthetic changes. I have a different set of wheels for it. But for the most part, this has really been kind of my tried and true machine. It was my introduction into sport bikes, or sport nakeds, which is what I prefer. And it's honestly been one of the best motorcycles that I've ever had the joy and privilege of owning. Just recently did a fork seal on it, and actually changed the rear shock. The rear shock was the original one, and it was not great. Basically all the gas had leaked out of it, and it was bottoming out. So I changed that, took it on a ride recently, and it is riding very, very beautifully. It's running really beautifully, riding really beautifully, and I'm honestly still impressed with its with the way that this bike holds up. It's still a quick bike. It's definitely not super fast. It's only about 70 or 75 horsepower. Decent amount of torque. It'll keep up. It's just a beautiful machine, and I'm glad that I made the decision back then to purchase this and to keep riding it for all these years. With maintenance, with care and love, these things will go, and they'll go forever. Ducati maintenance is something that often scares people off, and I get it. It's expensive. Parts are harder to find. The service is more frequent on these older bikes, and you're in it with all that. So you truly have to love these machines to really get into the brand. So I have a huge affinity for them. I'll own another one at some point. My wife has a Scrambler. Love the bike. They're just beautiful machines. So yeah, just want to do a quick review on this one and share my love for this brand. So thanks.